Milling Through History presents King John. We have all heard the name of King John before, most likely associated with Robin Hood. As such, many people have their own particular viewpoints about this particular British monarch without truly understanding who this man was. As such, it is important to understand that there is more than meets the eye to King John, although it is safe to say he was most assuredly a man who was too terrible to become king. He was born on December the 14th, 1166, and was better referred to as John Lackland, as it was expected he would actually never inherit any property whatsoever. As a result, his mother would send him off to an abbey with the belief that he may end up in the clergy. Instead, however, family feuds would end up creating a position for John, as he was able to move up in the ranks of his own siblings and begin to gain territory thanks to his father. In September of 1189, his older brother Richard would become King of England. However, Richard had already made it known that he intended to go on to the Third Crusade, and as such, there was concerns about exactly who would rule England in Richard's place while he was away. Now, because of family feuds, John had promised to remain in the family's properties in France and not actually invade England whatsoever. This would allow Richard to go to the Crusades and return after about 3 years' time, and thus take his place on the throne. However, John would actually end up going into England as the political situation within the country was deteriorating. And while John attempted to position himself as a de facto regent and heir to the throne, civil war would break out after it was discovered that Richard was being held ransom by the Austrians. And so John was attempting to consolidate his power within England. But once Richard was released and returned to England, John had to return to France, and eventually Richard would forgive his younger brother for attempting to seize power, seeing as blood was thicker than water. Richard I would die on April 6, 1199, and as a result, there were two claimants to the throne, John and his nephew Arthur. John, however, was able to go ahead and, through political alliances, assure his own ascendancy to the throne on May 27, 1199. As a result of this, John expected his primary ally, Philip II of France, would go ahead and continue to back his claims. However, within 5 years, Philip II would go ahead and force John to lose almost all of the English possessions in France, as it proved to be too costly to defend all that territory. As a result, John would become almost insane with the prospect of trying to regain all the land that the English had at one time had in France. But at the same time, he had to deal with many issues at home. One of the issues that he had to deal with was the fact that both his brother and father were near dictatorial when it came to their powers, and he himself had followed suit. In addition to this, the economy of England faltered under his reign, and many nobles in the north began to become disaffected by John. In the year 1215, the nobles would have John sign the Magna Carta, which, after the year 1217, became the basis of government in England. However, when the document was signed, neither side ever expected anything to come from it, and very soon a war would break out between the barons and John. While John was successful in early fighting, he himself became ill, and fictional stories would emerge about his death, citing the fact that someone had poisoned him. However, while no one is sure exactly what had caused the death through illness, John's death on the night of October 18th into the 19th, 1216, did go ahead and bring about a change in favor of the barons, as they were able to consolidate power and change the method in which the government of England would forever be seen. Now, history has had mixed reviews when it comes to the reign of King John, as early chronicles have been harsh in their treatment of him, while later historians have been far more forgiving. John is oftentimes, however, seen as a primary villain in stories regarding Robin Hood, which is rather ironic considering the fact that during John's reign, there did not seem to be any real major candidate who could have been Robin Hood. The closest one that comes in this regard, though, would be John's youngest daughter, Eleanor, who married Simon de Montfort, who has been associated as one of the inspirations behind Robin Hood. Be sure to click like, share, and subscribe for future episodes of Milling Through History, and leave comments below for future episode ideas. And be sure to take a look at our suggested reading page.